So our first storyteller. He is a Richmond native and an Eagle Scout. In his professional life, he's a biology teacher who has led field courses to Belize, Costa Rica, and the Smoky Mountains. He's taught at IU East and currently teaches biology at Union County High School. So please welcome Jerry Richwine.
Good evening. How you guys doing? Good? All right. So here's my story. Late November, several years ago, on a hike with my friends in the deep woods of the Ozarks, I discovered how much misery is actually in Missouri. Hiking in the Ozarks isn't normally very treacherous. It's very typical, similar to around here when you hike. But this was kind of atypical. We were hiking in late November. We were far away from any signs of civilization, and it's actually pretty close to freezing. Add in with that a perpetual drizzle that didn't end. The type of drizzle that whittles away at your soul. It can be quite challenging and very demoralizing. So, a couple of my friends with various levels of outdoor experience, and I, who had the most experience, planned a 3 to 4 day hike, 40 miles, backcountry hiking expedition. The hike began just like any other hike until about an hour in. That's when disaster strikes. I stepped over a tree limb, I slipped on wet leaves, I went down. Not a big deal, but when you're carrying an extra 30 pounds of gear, your body doesn't really like that. So the problems grew. Good news is that we were going to hike for another couple hours. So we set up camp, and I thought to myself, I've had worse. I'll be fine tomorrow. I'll power through it. Arrogance and pride are sometimes a bad combination. It wasn't quite fine the next morning. We hiked about 10 more miles, and the pain in my leg grew and grew. I even thought when we had to ford through about 3-foot deep river that maybe, just maybe, the cold water would have helped. It did not. It was so cold, it burned, and I swear it smelled like whiskey. And I was in so much pain at that moment, I really wanted whiskey. And that wasn't gonna help. We set up camp, had to suck up my pride. I told my group about my injury. That's not an easy thing for most people to do. But I did, and they understood. So we conducted a plan to head back home. Unfortunately, the closest point of civilization was a road about 2 miles away. So we decided to do that in the next day. We make it to the road. We call for our 24-hour shuttle service to pick us up and to drop us back off at our vehicle. After about an hour on the phone trying to call and reach the 24-hour shuttle service, we gave up and my friends flagged down a vehicle to hitchhike. Yeah, that's right. This is a part of a horror movie, when the characters of the story have made a mistake, right? That seed of fear has been planted. The vehicle that picks us up is a beat-up old truck, rust holes, sketchy as all get out, loud muffler even. The man very grizzled, rough looking, but polite, as would any mass murderer. My friend and I are forced to ride in the truck bed on top of a tarp, which had a bunch of mystery stuff underneath it, while our other friend was inside the cabin, free to chat away in the warm condition. Who's the injured one? So on our way, I start poking around underneath the truck, and that is when the seed of fear germinates. I see a bunch of axes, very sharp tools and objects, and there might have been a moment where I swear I heard Deliverance-style banjos playing. Some of the tools either had rust or blood or both. So my fear starts to grow. I start thinking, man, I'm the injured one. What do predators do when they're hunting? They pick off the elderly, the sick, the injured. I am that prey. So we eventually arrive at our car, the truck stops, and the driver opens his door and runs out into the woods. Shh. What? Of course, in my head, he's running to get a gun, or worse, who knows what. Any manner of tools of torture, prey, death. So we quickly load up our car in hopes the fear of murder do not become real. And as we finished, the man steps out and introduces himself and starts to converse. And I am thinking, this guy is just buying time to find a window of opportunity. And then he goes, hey, I got something to show you guys. Before you take off, I got to show you this. So he heads back to his car. I'm thinking, yep, we're dead. We're so screwed. So the guy ducks back into his vehicle. I jump in mine, and I started. Don't care. Friends are watching the guy. Bye. I'm not getting killed. I'm screaming inside my mind, thinking, what are they doing? This is how horror stories end for the characters. So the seed of fear is full grown and blooming. He pulls out a knapsack with a Bowie knife, fire starter kit, and a bunch of other stuff. He proceeds to tell us he goes backcountry hiking too, but he doesn't take 30 pounds of stuff like we do. He just takes this little kit and does wilderness survival style backcountry hiking. We exchanged numbers and he told us to get in touch when we do this again. A year later, we decided to do this again. We did not call him back.
One of the temptations you have to resist when you MC this is I'm like, oh, that makes me think of this really good story that happened to me one time. So sometime ask me about the time the guy with a gun in his pocket said, boys, I don't want to have to come hunting y'all.